Hi, my name is Ruby Swanson. I'd like to tell you about PFLAG. PFLAG is Parents, Families, and Friends of Lesbians and Gays. It's an international organization that was started about 50 years ago in New York City and now has chapters all over the world. There are two in Edmonton. One meets the last Wednesday of the month on 199th Street, and the other one meets at McEwen, and it's PFLAG, and it's an Indigenous support group. Just go to the PFLAG Canada website and click on Alberta, and it'll give you information about Edmonton. It's a support group for, as it says, parents, families, and friends of lesbians and gays. It's a wonderful organization that my husband and I have been involved with for many years, and we were actually the directors here in Edmonton. My other little piece of business here is I always ask, is anyone in the audience from Strathcona High School in Edmonton? My son Carl started the Diversity Club at Strathcona in 2004. Today it's called Scona Pride, and I have to say I'm really, really proud of him. In 2004, it took guts to start the Diversity Club, and it exists today. It meets once a week at lunchtime, and it's a support group, again, for, it's a GSA support group, so for gay kids and their allies in the school. It's a remarkable organization, and it was a big deal when he started in 2004. So we're going to start with my story. On December 4th, 2002, at 1:35 in the afternoon, my phone rang, and it was Carl calling me at work saying, I want to come and see you after school. I said, sure, just I'll be in my office. I didn't know why he was calling, and for the next 2 hours, I tried to figure out, okay, what's up? What's going on? So after school, he came up to my office, he closed the door, and he was standing there. He didn't unzip his jacket, he didn't sit down. He had his toque and gloves in one hand, and his other hand was on the doorknob, and he said, I'm gay. And I immediately said, well, that's okay, Carl. And he said, the part that sucks about this is I'll never be able to have children. And I just said, Carl, that's fine. You don't know what it's going to be like for you 15 years from now when it's time to have children. Don't even think that. I was in shock. I was stunned. I didn't believe what I was hearing. And I just said this because my child was very sad, and I had to say something to make him feel better. So he initially came out to his dad. Then 5 months later, he came out to me, and then 7 months later, he came out to his brother. Now, we all lived in the same house, and when he came out to his dad, he said, I'll tell Mom when the time is right, and when he told me, he said, I'll tell Paul when the time is right. And so it was very hard during that time to have a secret. And it was spring, and I was outside moving snow around so that it would melt more quickly. And my husband came home from work through the back gate, and tears were streaming down my face. And he said, why are you crying? And I said, I have a secret, and I don't know why it's a secret. And it's destroying my soul. And I said, I don't know why it's a secret that Carl is gay. I don't know why I can't tell my mom. I don't know why it took him 5 months to tell me. I don't know why he can't tell his brother. I don't know that I don't understand why we need legislation to protect people for being who they are. And during that time, it was the first time in my life that I had a secret, and it was killing me. And also during that time, I actually just thought Carl thought he was gay, and which was ridiculous because he was 16 years old when he came out to his dad, and then 17, and he'd actually in grade 12 already turned 18. And he's just like his dad. He doesn't look like his dad, but he thinks like his dad, and he talks like his dad, he moves like his dad. And so I thought, okay, so if my husband isn't gay, how can my son be gay? So for about 1.5 years, I kept saying to my husband, so is there anything you want to talk about? I know we've been busy for the last 20-some years, but is there anything on your mind? And he said, I'm not gay. And I said, well, how do you know you're not gay? And he said, because I know I'm not gay. And so this conversation would go back and forth about me thinking that, maybe he just doesn't realize that he's gay because these two are so similar. It took about 1.5 years for me to truly understand that Carl was gay. And it happened at about the spring of 2004. The kids from the youth group at the Pride Center had a float in the Pride Parade, and Carl had a boyfriend, and they all met in the marshalling area, and they were getting ready for the parade. So an irrelevant part of the story, but this is a mom, was that I wasn't really keen on his boyfriend at that time, and so I dropped him off, and as I was driving off, he and his boyfriend were what I call necking in the marshalling area of the Pride Parade. You guys would call it making out. I'm going to call it necking. And so, and I'm thinking, geez, Carl, like this is a public area, and you're acting like a high school kid, which he was a high school kid, and I guess he's entitled to act like a high school kid. But at that point, I knew that he was gay, because he couldn't do what he was doing unless it felt right to him, and it did feel right to him. So I recall that it was just a really, really sad day for me, because I knew that his life was going to be harder than some of his friends. So anyway, then shortly, he finally told his brother, and then I could talk to my mom, I could talk to my sister. And so when it was time to tell my mom, she was 82 years old. I thought she would be okay, but I really wasn't sure. And one of the things about probably the biggest thing about coming out is, by coming out, you risk losing the people you love the most in your life. So I had to tell my mom, and she had to react properly. So anyway, she's 82 years old. I'm dialing the phone, and she's, this was, again, like 2003, I guess. And she picks up the phone and says, hello, and I'm silent. And she says, what's wrong? And I couldn't speak, and I couldn't say anything because I knew I'd cry. And she said, what's wrong? And then she starts crying, and she pleads with me, and she says, tell me, what's wrong? And I said, Carl's gay. And she says, that's it? That's all? They told me my brother Fred was gay. And she, at that point, said the exact same thing that I needed, and in a wonderful and supportive way that I said to Carl when he came to my office. That day, my child was sad and needed support, and the day that I phoned my mother, I was really terrified that I might lose her, because I might be forced to choose between supporting my child or losing the relationship with my mother. Anyway, she came through, and she was great. And about a month later, as I said, she was 82 years old. About a month later, she came to visit. And I said, so how are you with this? And she says, well, I cried for 3 days, but now I'm fine. And so it was great. And she was wonderful and supportive throughout the whole time. Then it was time for my husband to tell his parents. And his family lives in the United States. And so like 9 months went by, and he kept saying, oh, I'll tell them when I see them, or, I don't want to do it over the phone. And I thought he was making excuses. And so I said, it's actually easier over the phone, because if they have a problem, you can just end the conversation. You don't actually have to do it in person. So he called his mom and dad, and he said to his mother, Carl's gay. And she said, oh, that's wonderful. We have this in the family, Do you want to speak with your dad? And so his dad came on the phone, and he said, Carl's gay. And his father said, that's so good that he could come out. Uncle Jerry had to hide his whole life, and it was so hard for him. And so Uncle Fred and Uncle Jerry were born in 1903 and 1911. Uncle Jerry was the organ player in the Lawrence Welk Band. So the Lawrence Welk show is on PBS every Saturday at 7 o'clock. You know, your parents and grandparents will know about the Lawrence Welk Band. So Uncle Jerry was the round-faced organ player that you would see in the old black and white shows. And he had a partner named Ray that he lived with his whole life in Los Angeles. And you know, everybody knew that these two men lived together, but you know, they really actually couldn't come out as partners, but the family knew and they were supportive, so that's wonderful. The last thing I want to talk about is the term "so gay." I can't stand it when I hear that. And I am here to plead, to lecture, to direct you about using the term "so gay." I wish people would stop saying it, and I don't even understand why they say it. The very first time I heard it, and I remember it specifically, was in 2004 at the Citadel Theater in downtown Edmonton, and I heard a young lesbian professor say that her sister always used the term "so gay," and she had told her sister, "I'm gay, please stop saying that." And her sister was very dismissive and said, "Oh, you know, it doesn't mean anything, everybody says it." It is hurtful, it is horrible, and every single one of you in this room, or wherever you are, who's listening to this, has a gay family member, a gay neighbor, a gay colleague, a gay friend, and whether you know it or not. And every time someone utters this and uses "so gay" in a derogatory or put down way, it is hurtful. And what I'm asking you here is to just call them out and say, stop saying it. And I think it's quite common in junior highs. Kids will try it out, and as people mature, they use it less and less. But I have to say, I was shocked when, you know, a 35-year-old woman told me that her sister, who's a mother and who has small children, says this. And I heard it again from another neighborhood kid who was 12 years old, saying that he'd heard parents say that term a lot all over the place, and this is now. So my direction to you is, wherever you are, when you walk through the door, the next time you leave, the next time you see someone and you hear this, call them out and stop it. And if people stop one by one, it will stop being used. And it will make it safe for the people who are around you to come out. If your friend who is gay and hasn't come out and you call somebody else out, the person beside them, beside you, will know that it's safe to come out to you and that you're supportive. And two, most of you will be parents if you aren't parents already. Make it safe for your kids to come out to you too. And the last thing I want to talk about is my book that's right here over my shoulder. I wrote about the experiences that I've had as a result of having a gay son. My book came out in the fall of 2016. It's been translated into Ukrainian, which is right here, and it was launched last year at Kiev Pride. And the book is available on Amazon, at chapter stores, here in Edmonton at Audrey's. You can order it online. And my hope when I wrote the book is that it would give people hope. And there are all kinds of obstacles and bumps in the road along the way, but things are better in the gay community than they were, you know, in the middle of the 20th century. But around the world, there's still a lot of work to be done. Thank you, and it's been a pleasure. If there's anyone out there who would like to get in touch with me, I'm on Facebook at Ruby Remenda Swanson, and please don't hesitate. I'd love to hear from you and hear about your experiences and concerns. Thank you.